Hello, hello. Heavy metal dash.
Yep.
How is everyone doing? Hope
I don't
everyone's
get to
having
do that. I don't get to do that when Scott's here because I don't come on live right after the
right.
show.
Yeah. So we're missing Scott and John Carmaker, so we had 2 dropouts. All right, but we have some replacements, and we'll get to those in due course.
Yes.
I guess I don't know if I've got any news to give. Sorry, I couldn't make it. Was it last week? I was away.
I think, yeah. Right. Yeah, it was just Scott and me for a while, I think, like last week. So it was kind of crazy.
So
I have announcements.
Please.
I have been approved to go to Google I/O. So I got my tickets, and I'm also going to be at NA Connect right after that. So I'm going to be visiting y'all. Finally, I'm physically coming. I'm going to be at a location for the first time.
Well, that's the first time we've actually met in person. If we meet at Google I/O.
Oh, if you're coming to I/O, yeah, you'll definitely see me. Yeah. Okay, for sure then. Absolutely, for sure.
Plan, at least. I've got the ticket and everything. We'll see what happens.
I got a golden ticket. Right.
It'll be definitely good. It'll be good to get everyone together again.
And also for people local in Portland, if you're around, I am speaking tonight for the first time since post-COVID at our local GDG. We finally fired up the GDG about 6 months ago, and I'm on their docket tonight to do intro to Flutter and some demos if the demo gods smile nicely. So that'll be my contribution to the world.
Will it be recorded?
Yeah, I think it'll be recorded. It's not going to be live streamed though. So,
well, it'd be great to see that once it's recorded for sure.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what we can do. I may just do a self-recording too, because I'm going to be there, and I probably will have I won't have a camera on me, but I hate being in my own videos. It's like I get that people like to do that, but I don't want to be a talking head over in the corner of my video. That's just stupid.
You have to get the green screen out and do all that kind of modern stuff, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's all good.
All right. Well, I guess it's your job to do the next bit.
Is it? Right. So yes, do's and don'ts. So be nice, be respectful, be constructive while interacting with people on all of our social medias now, not just YouTube. Don't post anything that's adult, rude, or offensive, or not safe for work, and none of that stuff. Don't advertise or promote anything. If your face is not on the screen, you do not get to pitch your gig. Okay, that's not for you guys. It's just for us because we're here doing the work. Don't spam. Don't post the same thing over and over again. That's really kind of rude to begin with. But also, if you post a question and then you post the same question maybe 15 minutes later, I take you out of the queue and put you down at the end of the queue. So you lose your spot if you do that. Harassment of any kind is not tolerated. We do have band hammers and we do use them, but do have a good time. We're all really having a good time here as well, as you can probably tell, because we keep coming back for sometimes no apparent reasons, but sometimes because it's just a lot of fun to talk to y'all and help you out with your problems, and also news of the day, stuff like that.
Yes, definitely have a good time.
I think we did all those. The only thing I didn't do is to put a queue in front of your questions. So can you put up that graphic there, sir?
I can indeed if I find the right button.
Sorry.
It's
so
stuff, right?
when you're in the chat, if you put Q : in front of your question, it will stand out for me, so I know I'm gonna pick it out. Also, it means that sometimes y'all chat amongst yourselves and answer each other's questions, and we don't really need to have that in our queue. We just need to let you do whatever you want to do. So be sure to put Q : in front of your question. I will remind you from time to time through the show about that. But the quicker you can just remember that, the easier it is on all of us. So, okay, I've done my bit. That's it. We need to do introductions now, probably.
I guess we'll do some brief, quick introductions. My name is Simon Lightfoot. I'm a community leader and CTO of Dev Angels London, and you can find me on Twitter at Dev Angels London. Scott can't be with us, but we have Randall. Randall, please.
Yeah, Randall Schwartz. I've been a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert since the beginning of the program for Dart and Flutter. It's just 5.5 years now, I think, is pretty close to that. And I'm also, again, as I said a moment ago, I'm the question magician for this show, which means I am watching the live chats. And if you put Q : in front of something, I go, oh, that's for us. And we start listing them. We already have 3 in our queue right now. That's how, because people get here early. They get here even before the start of the show and start putting questions in. It's kind of fun. And I also am a full-time Flutter developer for a very large international company now. So I'm happily getting paid, which is nice. Sometimes those are a little bit few and far between, but now I'm getting paid. Yes. So, yay.
And we also have Danielle. Danielle, welcome to the stage.
Absolutely. Hey, everybody. I'm Danielle Cox. I get paid for doing Flutter also, which makes me happy. It's been going on for over 2 years now, but I work at a company called Ardley, which is not a large international company, but it is it will be someday, I hope. And I lead the team of Flutter developers that we have, and I'm also one of the co-organizers of the Flutteristas. And last week I got to speak at Flutter Atlanta for the first time, which is my home Flutter meetup. And Randall was there; he saw it. He can vouch that I actually did it. And I think that's the first time
there. I was not in
Atlanta.
Atlanta.
There. Yeah, I wish I could have seen you. We haven't met yet either. I will also meet you at I/O, which will be amazing. Cool. And yeah, so but that was kind of neat doing that. And I think it was my first time where when I was telling everybody who I was, I actually mentioned that I'm part of the Flutter community. And then I'm, on here, so which is pretty cool. Did a shout out, told everybody to come watch Humpday.
Yeah. So, hopefully they're here watching, or if not, they'll be watching the recording. We have another person joining us, Majid. Welcome to the stage, Majid.
Hello.
Hajian,
isn't you, everyone.
It's Hajian, isn't it? How you spell this?
Yeah, but just call me Majid. Don't worry about the last name.
No, I just saw it then. I was like,
there's only one Majid in the world that does Flutter, right? So.
Really?
I care about.
I find that hard to believe. Oh, okay.
There's gonna be some other Majids now watching this, cursing you.
Yeah.
Another one. Right.
Hey, G, what's that book behind you?
Oh yeah.
So you see some cool books behind me, right? Someone here in this show, someone also reviewed some of the chapters of this book.
Cool.
Yeah, it's actually. Let me just grab it. Maybe.
And Majid, you could introduce yourself.
They're not just like.
No, it's actually real. So.
Yeah, it's real. All right.
So yeah,
not just
550 pages. It's very real.
Wow.
It's actually this one is the hardcover. So, and I don't know if it's visible from there, but the other one there is a paper cover.
Oh,
and
nice.
This hardcover feels like, these old books. I don't know if it's visible, like from, old time. They are all with hardcover. That feels like.
I think I prefer hardback books for sort of like reference materials.
Exactly.
Well.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool. And
Majid, if someone wants to buy that, I recommend to buy actually the hard covers. It's just super nice.
You should introduce yourself. All we know is your name now.
Yeah, you wrote a book. We know you wrote a book.
You wrote a book.
Yeah, I did. Yes, my name is Majid. Last name Hajian. Yes, correct. I also have been in Flutter community for a while with these amazing folks in the screen. And we've done quite a lot for Flutter and Flutter community together.
And you're GDE too, right? Yeah.
I am GDE too, yes. And
we got 2 GDEs on this call. Look at that.
There you go. Yes. And the funny thing, actually, you were mentioning about Google I/O. Last night I received also an invitation in person to Google I/O, which was very surprising. I did not expect it because I'm from Europe, and I was expecting that they will invite me to Berlin, which they did already. But then I also got an in person. I may see you in person in the US.
Yes.
Maybe.
You should. That'd be wonderful.
There'll be also be FlutterCon, not too soon after that as well. So
exactly.
The 3rd to the 5th of
July. 3rd to 5th of July. I mean, maybe Simon, we should mention this quickly. If you really want to join FlutterCon, which we encourage you all to join, especially if you're from Europe, book your accommodation right now. It's just because it's UFA in Berlin during that time, and all accommodations are kind of booked already. So just do it faster.
Speaking of name collisions. Name collisions in the Google developer community, right? This is not the Kevin Moore.
Yeah, it's not Kevin Moore. Yeah.
The other
But-
Kevin
Kevin
Moore.
Moore. This is the other Kevin
Yeah.
Moore.
Yeah,
Cool.
that'll be one of the more popular names, I guess, at I/O this year.
Yes. It's an hour earlier today for us in the UK and Europe, who haven't
Yep.
got to daylight savings yet.
Just like last week was 1 hour earlier too. So
You
Lee
guys
went
catch up
around.
this weekend?
Sorry,
Do you catch up this weekend?
next weekend. It's 2 weeks.
Next week,
different.
okay.
2 weeks, 3
Yeah.
weeks.
Three
It
weeks
varies-
this
it
year.
varies based on the exact day.
Yeah, because it's like last day of 1 month and third weekend of some other month or whatever, and so they don't
Yeah,
always line up
whatever.
correctly. Yeah.
Whenever the computer tells me daylight savings have changed, that's when it changes.
Got it.
Yep. Yep. I let my phone.
my scale of time is now controlled by a computer.
So say we all.
Yeah, but it's like you can show people pictures of like an analog clock now, and like
Yeah.
the younger generation, they don't know how to read it. I'm like,
No.
Right. Well, it's like my
I get it,
notification
I get it,
bar.
things move on, but equally, I'm like, isn't that important? I don't know. How important is that?
Yeah. Yeah. It's like it's like the time picker on Android is got that circular dial as one of its options. At least you can type it in as text, but that circular, or is that iOS? I forget who's time
When I
picker.
say when you do any mathematics on sort of time, like how far something is in the past or the future, I think of the dial of a clock face and think of it that way.
Oh,
I
wow.
don't think of like numbers, but I guess somebody brought up with digital world, they'll probably be thinking the mathematics of it, right? The actual numbers.
Yeah.
I can't picture things in my mind, so I think numbers always.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, it's called Aphantasia. It's kind of fun.
Oh yeah, me too.
I was probably almost 40 by the time I learned that was actually really a thing, and other people could see pictures in their mind.
I was about 22, but yeah, it was still pretty spooky. To all of a sudden discover other people could picture things in their heads.
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
What?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
that's
you can't. You're just using those as words, right? No,
exactly.
no.
For pros, absolutely.
We actually see these things. I go, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can't. It's not my thing. That's why all my books don't have pictures in them, because I don't think visually. So I think I just put more words. Yeah, crazy stuff.
Right. Shall we? We can dive straight into the questions. I think we have some in the queue, right?
We do have some questions. Sure. Let me.
Put out there.
Yeah.
Please put your questions in the queue. We'll get to them.
Okay.
Oh, also, any questions about the book as well? Pop them in the chat.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Majid, if you have a link where people can buy the book, you're more welcome to pop it in the private channel. I'll share it with everyone.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that. Maybe I can, if I can share my screen.
Sure.
Because this is a good opportunity to go quickly through the PDF version of the book. So some people wanted to see, like, inside. I have actually a sample code on my website, flutterengineering.io.
Nice.
But then I just wanted to also maybe share a few.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Please.
Of the chapters. So again, the book is like around, as you see here, is like 545 pages. So initially it was around 1,000
Just
pages.
a couple.
So
Just a couple.
Initially it was 1,000 pages. I broke it down, and also I got rid of some chapters, and the second book actually is coming out end of this month. I named it.
All the stuff you removed is now going in the second book. Is that it?
Yeah, it's gonna go to second book, which is named Flutter Beyond and Above. So, but this one is more about things that we, like, as Flutter developers or engineers, usually are dealing with, and especially in like a higher level, like expert level, let's say. So what I wanted to do here is, I just wanted to convey the message of building a good software, like going through the good practices of software engineering, and somehow also blended with Flutter as the tool here. So therefore, you see, like, for example, we have a chapter about the book has 5 parts. So, for example, the first part is just about Flutter itself. And we go through different things. For example, we go through like the core concept of software engineering, but then adding Flutter into it. So I'm just going to show a few pages that you get the point how I did that.
It's nice to go back and look at the contents as well in a minute.
Yeah, I'll do that. But just quickly review chapter 1. There you go. First of all, thank you to all the reviewers. Yeah, so a lot of people, actually, a lot of amazing folks from community reviewed the books, including Simon. So there you see that. So we're talking about software engineering in general. So they just added like some stuff into it that is related to Flutter, and it's part of it is also my opinion. So you may not really be um, aligned with me with this chart, but this is my opinion based on my experience. And then I apply different things. Like, for example, we talked about development paradigms. It's not necessarily a Flutter things, but you see these paradigms in Flutter quite a lot. So it's just nice to understand, not necessarily imperative and declarative programming, but also other things that is already in this, Flutter as well. So if you explore Flutter engine and Flutter source code, you see a lot of these, concepts are actually around. You'll see them everywhere. I took a look at all of these APIs actually, and extract them into an example here. Like, for example, when we talked about event-driven programming, well, what does it mean exactly and where it's used in Flutter? Or when we're talking about reactive programming, like what does it mean and where in Flutter is used? Things like that, and a lot of other software engineering concept as well. Like we're talking about low coupling or high cohesion, and what does it mean exactly? What does it mean in the context of Flutter? Like, what can you do to make such a software? And all of these stuff. And I also like made a lot of these kind of diagrams. Initially, I actually draw it with hand, and then with some tools, I just made it nicer. So many of them are hand. All of them actually are draw by hand. So, but let me just now go back to like the content once more. So then talk about that. So these are the chapters. So chapter 1, just core concept. The chapter 2, it's this one. I think all Flutter developers should read this chapter. It's like the biggest chapter. And I literally went through the like Flutter repository. I just broke it down and I wrote this chapter, like how things works, where is like that object in the source code, how can you find it, and all of them with examples, like name of the class, name of the abstract class, name of the file name, where you can find it, and a lot of concept like that. I will show you some of the diagrams. I actually extracted a lot of flow chart out of that, like the life cycle of X, the life cycle of Y, like how does these work, the trees, semantics trees, and so on and so forth. That's a very long chapter, by the way, like probably the longest chapter, around 50, 60 pages. And then we talked about some very low-level stuff like FFI and newer things in Flutter. Then I believe everyone should know some of the principles, especially object-oriented programming. I faced a lot of questions from developers that is coming from lack of knowledge of object-oriented programming. And I tried to add this into this chapter. And I gave examples, like when we're talking about X, Y, Z, how Flutter is using that. And so it just makes sense in the context of Flutter as well. A lot of design patterns are used also in Flutter itself, both in the source code as well as our daily work. Like we use a lot of different patterns without, whether we know or not, we're using them. So we just try to also go through them and show like what are the design patterns that are mostly used in like app development and mobile development, builder pattern and like template and so on and so forth. Then the part 2 of the book is about architecture. I felt like maybe it's nice to have some foundation, like understanding things about how architects usually make decisions, trades off, things that make affect your decision in software engineering in general, and like having the mindset of oh, sorry, I just clicked on. Having the mindset of an architect, and why all architect or like expert software engineer usually say it depends. It's it's a boring answer, but there is a reason that they say that, right? So it comes from seniority. So it's not that they don't know.
Seniority or seniority?
It's when you need to break down a problem more, right? To get the information you need to really give an answer.
Exactly. We talked about this. Exactly. That's what I talked about it. And even newer approach in software architecting right now. There are like terms about iterative architecture. It's not like before that you come up with a blueprint and then it's done for like next 50 years. Every day there is a change in every piece of technology that we do. So there is a like an iterative approach towards even architecture. So we talked about that. Though I went through, generally in architecture, we talk about styles and patterns. Styles are like more of like higher level, which they don't really say that much. They are like blueprint, as we are saying. For example, layered, architecture or event-driven architecture, microkernel. These are the ones that I talked about. I think microkernel is the one that usually I received question about, like how can we break down an app that someone from our team in enterprise with a plugin can, plug one module to a main app. This is what we're talking here. Like how can you build completely different, with some principles, completely different view, but then hooked it into a main app and it just pops up automatically to the main app. And you can even feature flag it or, whatever you want. And then we went through some of the main, very common UI architecture, like, for example, MVVM, all of these, MVX, things. What's the difference and which one probably you need to use? Some went through some block and also clean architecture a bit. And then at the end also talked about trades-off. It's not that one architecture is better than others. There are reasons that they are created. Some of them are old, some of them are newer, so there is a reason. You need to understand why you need to choose one of them over another one. That's what we're talking here in this chapter. Concurrency and parallelism, a lot of good topic here. So we talked about it, some patterns, how usually it's done in software, and then lots of example in actually Flutter. Because as we know that Dart is single threaded, right? So it's nice to understand how we can actually leverage also these parallelism or concurrency in Dart and Flutter as well. Offline capabilities and other things that we discussed, some patterns, going through some theory here. This chapter is not really in depth, but it gives some insight, like how can you cache, how can you invalidate your cache, how can you make sure that the data is there is like a data integrity already, so you know that the data is not malicious or whatever after you are coming back online, and so on and so forth. State management, a few things, dependency injection, talked about, things here, how to decouple. Then I believe a software engineer is not just a person just sit writing code, right? There are lots of other things that you need to understand, like writing a good guideline for your team, guiding mentor in your team is also important. Like going through this was also very nice. Learning this is also nice, like, right? How can we leverage also Dart ecosystem for such a thing, like using linkers or Dart FMP or so on and so forth. Collaboration, different type of collaboration in development, different type of Git, paradigms that exist that probably you need to know and which one probably works for you. And some testing here, so different type of testing. So this part, I think, is probably for some media or junior developers going to be very useful, like learning about test doubles, like different type of test doubles, smoking, faking, when to use smoke, when to use fake, when to use stuff, and when, these are the things that people need to know, not just knowing the name, but understanding when to use them. There are lots of actually diagram also I showed, like when they are useful in this chapter. Some environment and flavors, a small chapter, and then another part is about ethical engineering. I named it. It's mostly about security and privacy. So it's often two topics that is kind of it comes at the last part of the app development where I think this is very important, and it should be from the very beginning when you are building your application. So at least knowing the top security issues, it's helpful here. I mean, how can you recognize them? Knowing a little bit about cryptography, that's actually very good. Like the difference here, like how they work, when to use what. So that's where I also put it here into cryptography a bit. And then privacy. So jump. This is very theory, but I think this is the chapter actually you, Daniel, also reviewed. And accessibility. A lot of things here about accessibility. It's not just in Flutter, it's actually overall, picture about accessibility, and then how you can actually apply those into Flutter with what Flutter gives you. So, and the last part is a little bit about advanced UI. So I named it advanced UI, where we talk about adaptive UIs, and responsive UIs. And a lot of new information, perhaps, that you haven't seen all of them in one place somewhere about internationalization and localization. So I think you're gonna like this chapter. And then theming. So that's another one. And last one is custom painter and shaders. In fact, in this chapter, even I converted a shader from your two toys and show them like how you can have a shader somewhere else and how you can convert it and use it in Flutter if you want to do that. This is also a basic of about custom painters and shaders. So, I mean, in general, that makes it around 545 page, which is I try to avoid it could be like more, but what I want to say is that these are like very condensed information. Like every page you read, you need to really focus on that page and maybe spend time on it to just understand everything.
You know how many questions we get asked about all these topics on this show all the time. I'm just going to tell them to go buy your book. That's it.
Yep.
We should have a standing link that we share.
Well, we have a question in there from a Flutter crew asking that very question. Where do we get this book?
Yeah, the book is published digitally on my website. Maybe I can share. Let me just stop this and share this one. Flutterengineering.io. That's where you get the book digitally. So you can order it on my website. There is, as I said, there is a second book coming also. So technically, you have either the PDF or you can have all of them, both books and also the videos that I'm gonna publish. And if this price doesn't work for you, please just send me an email. It's no worries about price. I want everyone to have a copy, but maybe the price is not like a right fit for you. Just send me an email. There is some questionnaire down there how you can get connected with me so that I can give you some discount. But if you need paper copy, this part is out of my hand. I cannot give any discount or anything because Amazon is just fully control everything. So I have no control over that. but then you can actually order from Amazon too. If you are in UK, for example, just you can go there and just buy the book, to paper and hardcover, or other countries as well. Most countries can order from .com though. Amazon delivers to your country, and most of the time is actually free delivery. I've seen it's actually free delivery. But you try. I don't know. My country, like sending to Norway from US, is free for some reason. I don't know why. More website is also coming. I'm working on other websites, especially in India. I know people have some problem in India getting book, so I talked to one vendor in India. Hopefully, they can publish it locally in India so that they can get cheaper.
That's great. Honestly, it's brilliant.
It really is. Thank you for doing this, Majid.
Yeah,
No problem.
Brilliant. Yes, the link is in the chat for anyone that wants it.
And then hopefully in May you'll autograph my hard copy version.
Yes, I mean, I talked to many conference organizers already, so I guess most people will receive a copy, maybe a paper copy, let's say, in any conference in any part of the world that they join, especially in FlutterCon in Berlin. If you are in Europe or a FlutterCon in New York, you probably get the paper copy in your hand. So
that's amazing. That's amazing.
Okay, I hope I was really enjoyed that, because there's questions about all those topics that we can answer right now.
I'm just wondering, after you describing the content of this book, I'm just wondering what that other second book is going to have in it. What's left? You're covering everything already. What is it?
That one is actually about, it is a very good question. It's not a regular things that we do with Flutter every day. So it's about like, for example, IoT and like 3D rendering and, game and, some basics about that. And also I added 2 chapters dedicated for optimization. It's a lot of content about optimization. So that one is also about that. And one section about some techniques like implementing a force upgrade strategy. Like people have this problem of like, how can we make sure that user has the latest, version of my app, things like that. Some techniques. I think that's, as I said, mostly maybe tips and kind of tricks in that book. But the other book, this one, the main book, is not tips and tricks. It's foundation. It's like general knowledge about software engineering.
Wow. And being a fellow book author, I know how much work it goes into putting words in the right orders. So I know you spent nights and weekends on this for probably a year or two, right?
I actually did a year. I think it took a year almost to finish everything.
Yeah. I remember those days. I definitely do. I can totally relate. Yes, indeed. Yeah. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Cool. We get on some questions.
Yeah.
Okay, let me star a couple of these that I just saw first, and then let me go back up to the top here. And do we have a package which handles the default cache mechanism for API responses? If no package is available, can you suggest a cache mechanism for API response? How can we do this? I already answered this by saying put a Riverpod feature provider around it. Of course, because I'm always going to recommend Riverpod for most of the common.
I know what he's asking though. So it's kind of interesting, right? Like HTTP has a whole caching mechanism built into the protocol, and I've did it with like sending back if not match, if match.
Oh yeah,
all that sort of jazz, and 304s. And is there like a nice way you can slap a cache in front of that and you get a free cache? To be honest, I've not actually seen that. It'd be a really good package, and I'm pretty sure that I think Dio has a package for that, like Dio Cache, but that's a framework itself on top of the standard HTTP package. It's something that's kind of interesting, right? Because there's this kind of notion that you don't, as much as, okay, let me just briefly explain this. It's kind of an interesting one. caching is kind of interesting, right? So you can cache at the layer of your network, right? So you're caching the responses, but your responses you might have to have mix several requests and it has several different responses to make up one piece of data that you want to show to the user, perhaps. In that situation, are you wanting to cache the requests then, or you actually want to cache the object that you've constructed at the end of it? And the answer normally is the object that you've constructed at the end of it, right? Your mechanism for transit is one layer that's separate to your cache layer that your objects might sit in. I mean, but again, it's where you draw that line. It's not a website like if you're just doing something that sits in front of maybe a web API, maybe it makes more sense to have a HTTP sort of based caching system. But yeah, equally, it's definitely something quite interesting, because I think a lot of the time things like people use Firebase Firestore. It's not handled for you. That's literally what the client library does. It works with it out for you, and will store in the local database and essentially perform that diff in essence, and sync as well. But I feel like there's definitely room in the Flutter sphere for like a generic package that sits at both ends of Dart on the server side and Dart on the client that does that sort of handling of syncing, of matching, of handling data, of handling references to data, and just do that. The problem with all these things is when it comes down to it, you either have a package. I think we've discussed this previously, but you have a package like Firebase that does it all for you. It's very well prescribed, and it locks you into that pattern of behavior and doing things. As soon as you want to do something outside the pattern, it becomes really difficult, because now you're going against the flow about how the entire library and framework work. Whereas you've got the complete other end of that sort of thing, which is do it all yourself and custom.
Right.
And we haven't really got something that plays that middle ground just yet. I don't think. I'm not seeing anything, but I think that would be good place to, if you're interested, Nitin, please, fill that gap.
I would think that I would think there'd be a shelf plugin. I know this is the other end of the problem, but there'd be a shelf plugin for proxying that would be a proxy cache, and you might be able to borrow some of the concepts from there.
The problem here is that a lot of that stuff, when it comes to like the server side, you normally use like a separate proxy that sits in front of your API.
Yeah.
So in a sense of, if you're doing, I'm trying to remember some of the proxies now.
Nginx.
Nginx. I mean, yeah, you've got lots of web servers with a caching mechanism, but there's high availability proxies that that literally their job is to just cache the requests coming in. So if they get pummeled by the same API request, they can return back with the same data, right?
Yeah, like HA proxy. I did some work for them, so yeah, a day. Yeah.
But it's that kind of thing that having, again, like you either code it into your stuff and make something custom, which can work, or you build your API that's your specific logic, and then you put something in front or other layers made by other software vendors, and that becomes your network stack in terms of your API or how you're using it. That's on the server side, of course. On the client side, it's a different thing. Well, and again, it's that same thing. You put something in between. Go on, sorry.
I was going to say it's also something you got to be pretty understanding what's going on, because are you wanting to not load a bunch of data every time? But what if it changes? Is it stuff that'll never change, so you never need to reload it, or is it something that you need to be able to tell, kind of like Firebase would be, where you need to know that a change has happened, so you know to actually load more stuff? I mean, I think there's important things like that when we're talking about caching. Is how do you go about knowing which part's which, and that can be tricky.
I mean it comes down to just like working with whatever the API that you're building is and sort of coming up with it, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, so I use, I think it's Device Plus from the Flutter Community Plus packages, and in there's actually something that Majid added a while back. I saw where he's intentionally, when you go to get the version back, he's intentionally busting the cache, and that actually takes then a lot of time then to download something, because in my case it does, because we're using CloudFront. And so, it's pretty slow. That caches stuff really well, but it's slow if I have to go load it again off of the Amazon servers. And so once again, it's also something you will make sure that, because one size doesn't necessarily fit all in these kinds of circumstances. I do find it interesting seeing that question, because when I went and looked at it, was Majid that actually added the this cache busting, PR in a couple years ago.
Nice.
It's quite common to have lots of mechanisms for cache busting as well, which is just like adding parameters to a query string and things like that.
That's what he did. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that kind of like bust the cache open. That can also be, believe it or not, that can also be a pain because you might end up caching lots of different versions in the cache. So be careful with what you do there. Again, not necessarily you'd be better off if you have control of the remote side, that is the server that you're requesting, caching it appropriately on the server side and having the right caching headers so that the client can respect them. But I think that's what the question was asking about. So DO, I've never used this package, so I don't know, but DO cache interceptor. And so this is an interceptor that sits in front of DO, and then this looks like it has cache triggers, cache freshness. So you can use all the standard sort of headers, and then several different stores that you can use. So you can work with Drift, Objectbox, Sembast, LLU strategy, you name it. It's probably got it, and then there are various different ways of dealing with it. But there's a few of these different libraries where there's HTTP libraries and then caching stuff built on top. Yeah, maybe we should put something together.
Well,
all right. Anyone want to add anything to add to that?
The only thing I thought I might want to add, which is not necessarily what was asked there, but like one way I handled caching when it was a lot of data and I needed to know if it's fresh or not was I when I cached the data, I also cached a version number, and I sent in a request and said I've got this version, and so it could just immediately reply back and say you're good if that was the current version, and otherwise it would. That
is literally the nature of some of those HTTP cache things. So there's what's called an E tag, expiry tag, and the idea is that the server sends back the E tag with the content. You store the E tag alongside the content. When you make a request for the content again, you say if non-match or and you send the E tag along with that in the header. And then the web server will just go, oh, the E tag matches what I've already got. So it sends back a 304, not modified. You're good. You've already got the data.
I like when my thoughts are actually the good ones, because often they're not. So often they're kind of unique to me. So I'm happy when
it's basically the same. Yeah, it's basically
sometimes you accidentally stumble on the right solution. Yes,
exactly right.
Yeah, kind of nice when that works out.
Yeah, I mean that's essentially almost at the transport layer. HTTP is application layer in OSI, but you can then do the layer above that, which is inside your own application. You're sending JSON, as Daniel was saying, you send your JSON back and forth, and inside that you have your version number. When the server receives it, it checks it. It's the same version, so it sends back. You've already got it. Doesn't bother like going to the database or doing anything else. It just says you've got that. So there's a lot of ways.
Once you have a cache, you end up with another problem, which is cache invalidation. Always understanding when you need to get the data again and what's their policy about that. And as soon as you introduce cache, you also introduce cache invalidation problems. So it just changes what problems.
Wait, you have to do with stale caches and all the other fun stuff.
I mean, exactly. You can end up with a case where you were like, well, this is never going to change. And and it may not in actual, but the next version it would actually change. Oh yeah. And then your people are going to test, and they're getting the old version. And trust me, I've run into that a lot.
That's where you kind of go, I'm just going to cache bust it. I'm going to have to do something like this, just breaks the normal. I've had that before where you're like, no, this will never change, and then it's like, oh wait, it does. And now I've got 7 days.
Yep.
I mean, rarely, but when it does, you need it. Yeah.
Yep. All right, let's go on here. We got 10 questions already in the queue, and it's only the almost the top of the first hour. So let's see, everyone. I see this wasn't had a queue in front of it, but I thought it was probably something asking for us. So today is the day of major releases for Flutter Community Plus packages. Is that true, Simon? Majid? I don't know.
It's
Nobody
actually
knows.
a good question. I don't know.
So probably, maybe.
Maybe.
In fact,
I'm not publishing anything today. I know I'm not publishing anything today, especially things that have the word plus in them. So anyway, sorry about that. Ask on next week's show. Maybe those people will know. All right.
I mean, there are regular releases. Looks like we have got a 6.0 release 5 hours ago.
Yeah, exactly. They released major version.
Okay, there we go.
there's other
So,
members of the community. That want,
Congratulations
I mean,
to Flutter Community Plus packages.
yeah, there you
Yay.
go.
Turning 6.
I mean, I will say that it's not like me and Majid may have led this effort, but it's really the community, right? There's lots of maintainers all working on all those packages.
Yeah.
And absolutely brilliant what they're doing.
It's mainly, by the way, led by Vladimir. So if you check the latest commit right now in the repository, he's right now the main active one. But me and Simon, as he said, we're just sticking around, like to check out from time to time.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I have an RSS feed now of the latest packages. And so every morning in my reader, I get to see that there were 472 new packages released in the past 18 hours or so. And it's like, wow, it's voluminous. It's incredibly voluminous. Some of those are entire fleets of packages, though. So it's like something that have a common prefix.
It's like this. When we had a model where we had lots of different package versions for we had all the whole sort of federated plugin stuff, and we had so many different packages. We ended up canceling a bunch of it because it just became so difficult to maintain.
Yep.
Yeah.
When we had how many? I can't remember now. It was like 8 major. Maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 9. Sorry, 9 major packages, each with 6 different variations.
Exactly. Yeah.
We were doing a release, and you would release like what 100, like just under 100 sort of packages.
Insane. All right, let's just move on. This is easier there. Why is there no official support for the Facebook SDK? Do you have any ideas?
Because Facebook haven't made an official SDK. I mean, first of all, I do want to mention we're all community members here.
Yeah,
we're not Flutter Google employees or Facebook employees.
We're not Meta employees either.
Yeah.
Yep. Go on. You want to speak to this?
All I was going to say is every time I've tried to do a Facebook like auth through Firebase or something, it is such a royal pain. It's always getting turned off. They're always changing things, and so I'm going to say it's because Facebook does not make it at all easy, whereas other places do. I really am. I mean, it's like they offer this, but I mean, I the last time I tried to do a Facebook sign in for some, I can't remember what it was. I was going to use Facebook for it, and it was broken at that point in time. You get like this random message like, talk to the developer or whatever, that something's expired, things like that happen with it. And so I mean, if you need to do Facebook, that's great, but I would actually go on record as recommending I wouldn't, just because it seems that flaky to me. And there's plenty of other of these, third-party auths that work great.
Cool.
There's I just had a look. There is a Firebase UI OAuth Facebook package official to Firebase. So that
I've used it.
Yep. That might be a way to help shortcut things for the. But again, it depends. Like we're just on this. Like a lot of the time, it's super simple to make yourself a plugin in your own repository that wraps any native SDK. So you would say you've got the Android SDK for Facebook, and you want these 2 features that it supplies. Then just you can make a plugin. There's guides on the Flutter website. Wrap it and just make it do what you want to do. You're the maintainer of those couple little bits of functionality that you need.
It's just like the Gemini interface didn't have an official package from Google until a few weeks ago, maybe a month and a half now, somewhere in there. But there were already a dozen things that had the word Gemini in the name and SDK and all, because it's a freaking REST call. It's simple, really simple. So maybe there's not an official one, but why do you care? Just look up the APIs.
If you read someone else's package, if you like what their code is doing and you find it's clear and concise and does what you want it to do and you're happy with it, then use it. Otherwise, make your own.
Yeah. Exactly. All right, next one. Confirming there is no way. Sorry.
No, I was going to top of it. Don't ever wait for someone to spoon feed you something, right? Like in a nice way. Like don't expect some big company to like go, here's our stuff, right?
Right.
Because you won't be waiting a long time. Until
Okay.
there's a demand for it that's been driven by the community, they probably won't maintain an official one.
Okay. Confirming there isn't an easy way, isn't any way to save local data for Flutter web between sessions. Wait a second. Yes, there is. We can do that. Try both shared graph and NoSQL using an XDB. Lost when the browser is closed.
What I got in chat. I think I got to the bottom of this with him. He was just like restarting it like from the IDE.
Oh.
And so you get basically a brand new sort of incognito style.
Yeah,
Chrome.
incognito. Yeah.
So
I was going to say, if you start from the ID like that, it doesn't incognito window on purpose, so it doesn't store anything because you're developing.
I didn't catch that it had been solved in the chat already.
You can set your device to web-server, I think, still. And if you set your device, -D when you run Flutter, it will start up a web server, and you can just launch your own browser and browse that way. You don't have to use like the debug mechanism.
Right.
And that will use your browser's cache, right?
Cool. Have you
Randall,
found...
before you read the next question, I just want to say it was good to see you. It's all at 1 hour. I have to go and pick up my daughter. So
okay.
Then good to see you, everyone. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks. Anytime.
Tell your wife and daughter I said hi.
Yep.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, ciao. All right. Then there were 3. All right. Let's do the question.
For about another 17 minutes. There's 3.
Oh, and then there's 2. Oh man. And then I gotta go just soon. Oh no, just kidding. Right. Have you found there's just Simon on the channel for the last hour? That'll be funny. Have you found the date picker to act weird when you try to type the date on Android non-Gboard users where the slash is not shown? I don't know. I don't have.
No, I haven't, but I do hate the date picker. So you're not the only one.
Okay.
To be honest, like some of the, I think we still don't really have a good way of selecting date and time in general on both platforms. It's terrible. And all the ways that they've come out with this, it's like one that looks like a calendar where you have like, was it the date, the year at the top, and you don't realize you can like tap the date or swipe the date or whatever it is, like change the year. And like the month, or most people go through the months like a pagination to change the year.
Yeah.
Right. And it's that kind of stuff. Like it's just bad UX. It's just.
I hate any of that where I can't just type, because I can almost universally type, a date faster than I can go pick it if it's not like today or tomorrow or last week or next month.
But here's the other one. Like also having a date picker, which has got the names of the months, and you have to localize it versus having the numbers of the month, or along with numbers and the name. It's so complicated.
Well, and even by being able to type it, that has to be localized too, because we do it with month, day, year, right?
Yeah.
We do day, month, year.
Exactly.
Japan does the month, day.
Speaking of Japan, I want to figure out how I can go to it's Flutter Ninjas, for crying out loud. We had the Flutter Viking on here a second ago, but I mean, and Flutter Vikings are cool. Flutter Ninja, I mean, hello.
That would be fun.
Definitely.
That would be fun. And also I wanted to talk about this, just I also really hate user interfaces where you have to pick your birth year, and obviously it's kids programming this.
Yes.
I have to scroll way back to 61, guys. Sometimes that takes a while. So don't let me type it somewhere or something. Don't make me scroll.
Thankfully, it doesn't take me quite as long.
Yeah.
Is this the irony of? Is this the irony of it? The older you get, the more chance you have of having like repetitive strain or
right.
Right. You're hurting the people the most
and they have to scroll the most, right?
Right. Yeah, that's just not fair. That's just me being my old whiny
or something like that, right?
Yeah,
I agree with that 100%.
61 was a long time ago, though. I do know that. I do know I'm not a kid anymore.
Same decade, so same kind of problem.
Yep. All right, enough of that. Let's go on to the next one here. I can view the Firebase storage images in mobile web browser, whereas I am not able to view the images in larger screens on a web browser. Firebase storage images. It's probably like what? Firestore? No,
Okay.
S3.
So I can tell you exactly what the problem is here, I think.
Okay.
So I have a feeling
Yep.
that you're using it. Basically, it selects a different renderer. So on desktop, you're getting one renderer. On mobile, you're getting the other. You get a CamSkit renderer, or whichever way around it is.
Mhm.
And what happens is if you're using the web renderer, it uses an image tag, which will do it one way. And if you're using the CamSkit renderer, it will go use a what's it called? Ajax request, basically a backend. What's it called? No, fetch now, isn't it? Fetch request.
XHR.
Yeah. XML, RPC, Ajax, whatever you'll call it. Basically, two different mechanisms that works. You might be running into CORS.
Yeah.
CORS.
I've run into that with that, but I can't imagine on Firebase you'd have that. But
well, this is it, right? Again, it's maybe how it's being requested.
If you want to ask all questions,
I was saying,
when I ran into
tell you an error, surely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When I had a CORS issue pulling down images, it definitely told me that. I mean, it even told me that's what it was. Probably.
If you go into your browser on both, you can actually hang on a minute. On the same, is not able to view on larger screens in web browser. So you mean on desktop, I assume, right? On desktop, you can just open up the inspector on the web page, go to console, and you'll see all the errors coming through. And you go to network, you can see the network errors, and that's the network tab, and that's probably the best way to see what's going wrong here.
But I mean, when I had a CORS issue, Flutter gave me an error too. So make sure you look in there and see if it's giving an error.
Sure. But definitely check the browser's console for errors and network for any failed network requests.
Yeah.
Okay, we're just about holding even with questions coming in and questions being answered. So we're either going to have to speed up or cut people off pretty soon. But let's do this one here, and we'll start talking about where we're stuff. Can we use Dart as a backend for production? Yes. Okay, that was a quick end.
So for those who don't know, you can do. In fact, I did a 3-part series on the Flutter channel with Craig called Full Stack Dart, which I go through we do an exact thing with WebSockets and live notifications and some fun other stuff. I'll find the link and.
But there's more packages than ever now. I mean, to do that with.
Yeah, there's Dart Frog, ServerPod.
We use Shelf, but
Shelf underneath both of those actually, but Shelf can be used independently. It's a really good starting place, and there's a lot of plugins for it already, like caching and file service and authentication stuff. So Shelf's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I've got part 1 here, and there's 3 parts, and you can go find the others. I'll post the link in the chat. Don't leave us now, though. Watch it later.
Yeah, really. Stay with the show.
There's you can do Dart compile exe, right? For I think it's Dart compile, and you give it your output file and the Dart file, and it will compile into a single binary. And you ship that. If you use the Dart create command line, Dart create -t server, the template for server, it will create one with a Docker file that will just ready to rock and roll. So yeah, go for it.
Wow, that's really cool. And oops, we've got a question from Majid.
Yeah, no.
Sorry about that.
Can't go to find him on social media. He's on the old Twitter and everything else. And and the community Slack and everything else. And you can.
He's almost as social as I am, so it's pretty cool. I mean, I see him occasionally. I'm sure he sees me everywhere, so it's kind of scary. All right, next one here. What's your opinion on the Flutter team decision to move material state properties from the material library to the widgets library? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
I don't have an opinion.
I don't think I do either. I'm actually either way.
As long as the code works, as long as it works, that's all.
There is in the roadmap. And I'm going to find it here. In the roadmap for this year, they specifically called out. It says work is expected to continue on blank canvas. Blank canvas is then given. Let me copy the link address and pop it in the chat, and I'll also share it on the stream here. Bear with me. If I can get the link, that is not the link. Which probably means I pasted the wrong link. Oh well. Yeah, links in the chat and I'll share it on screen. So the blank canvas. Also, I just got someone's microphone there. Blank canvas custom controls, which is still proof of concept. It's still a work in progress, but basically here, how do you like have proper branding of assets, and how do we essentially also treat separation of Cupertino material outside of the framework, and this is ongoing, and it's really about like getting everyone's sort of packages of widgets up to date, right? This kind of goes to this, right? Like, sure, they're moving in there, but I can also see them and I don't know for sure, this is just me seeing what's been happening, and that is eventually separating out material. So if you have the blank canvas widget set, that stays in the widgets library, and the material Cupertino implement blank canvas, and they become their own like separate library almost, right?
Yeah,
So
what
that's
happens
the
is when you start a design system from scratch, you end up re-implementing a lot of stuff that could really be common. So the whole idea here is to refactor so that whatever's typically in common with design systems can be shared, and that's a notable goal. I mean, it's a word,
what's it called? GCD, greatest common denominator, right?
something, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those words. That's a math term, yeah. Okay, cool. All right, I think we beat that one up. Let's go with the next one here. How about what's the best package for view and edit a PDF and works on Windows? Well, you had me until that last part, right? Do they work?
So good luck with that. So first of all, there is no answer to this, I'd say, because there is no answer to it currently. There's a great couple of packages I'm going to recommend, and they are based completely in Dart, and so that will get you a lot of the way there. However, PDF as a standard is immense. It's very wide and very wide breadth, and the way that you view PDFs is very complicated. The way you can edit PDFs is even more complicated. For example, a lot of PDFs can even be made where each character is a separate text element, so you can't even get strings of characters. You can't like do things right. So there ends up being it ends up being more difficult than you expect to do things right. So I just want to sort of point that out. So
PDF
the package,
PDF came out of the technology where they were building a way to universalize PostScript so that you could send PostScript through a filter that reduces it to just its fundamental elements. And so you didn't need to have the whole body of everything. It was basically a PostScript to PostScript translator. And PDF sort of came out of that era. In fact, the core layout of a PDF is still mostly PostScript. Yeah. So it can, because PostScript is a Turing complete language, PDFs are by nature Turing complete as well. So
don't even get.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, no, it's not that. But the problem is, you can insert. Let me just tell you something you can do with PDF.
Yeah,
you can make PDF pages, like the content of a page, a glyph, and have that glyph rendered in them.
Yeah,
like the things that you can do with PDF are just nuts. So
yeah.
If you want like a complete PDF spec, like good luck. Use some open source libraries. Anyway, so PDFX is the package I would recommend for viewing and rendering, and it works on Windows. There you go.
Oh, cool.
So should run on web, Mac, iOS, Android, Windows, and there is an in action. So that would be the package I would recommend. But don't expect it to be complete or perfect in every way. Not all PDFs might render correctly. As you can see here, it uses PDFium. So it's off the bottom of the screen, which is the one that's built into Chrome. So this is Chrome's PDF viewer, and iOS Mac uses its built-in CG PDF page. On Android, it uses PDF render, and on web, it uses PDF.js. All of which are going to be maybe slightly different, support slightly different sets of things that they can render and everything else. But for the most part, most major things are going to work. There's also a great package just called PDF. PDF has been around a long time. This package is about rendering PDF files, but the interesting way that it renders them is with a widget framework, just like Flutter, which is really cool. So if I just jump over to the API reference, you have the standard PDF stuff, which is all about the internals of PDF, and they have widgets. And if you look at these widgets, they have a very remarkable similarity to all the widgets that you would see inside of Flutter. So the general gist is that you can use like a container, and you can set alignment and box constraints and everything else, and it will treat it like it would do if you're doing a widget layout, which does mean because you use the same class names, you have to like do an import alias if you want to use this properly, probably in certain situations. However, it does mean that what you get is a familiar way of rendering PDFs. So if you want to do like nice PDF layouts, you can use this. And then you can also get advanced things like charts and some other fun things like that inside, and it will render those out nicely as well. So if you're trying to build reports or anything like that from your Flutter or app or whatever, this PDF package is really the way to do it. And then the viewer be the PDFX package, basically.
Cool.
There you go. Hopefully that. So when we talk about, sorry, I just wanted to cover this just because I didn't explain it here. Yeah. So renderer and viewer, that doesn't mean creating PDFs. Rendering is drawing the PDF, like painting the images of the PDF, just to be clear. Right. And viewer is just like widgets that let you view it, like like you would do as if it was a document, right? So PDFX is for viewing, and then the PDF package is for actually generating PDFs, right? Creating them.
PDF package
Cool.
is awesome. Use it in several reps.
From the crowd, yeah.
All right.
All right.
And you're
Time for me to do my sprint planning. So
Have fun.
I should
Bye,
see you
Daniel.
all next week. So
Yep.
See you
Hope so. We're still opaque. If we're not transparent by next week, I should be seeable. Yes. For the foreseeable future. Oh my God. Did I just go there? Yes. I'm making granddad jokes now, not just dad jokes, but that's a whole story behind that. All right. So how many states can a block? Oh, let me actually push the button. There we go. Now you can see it too. How many states can a block have for each event? Sometimes I think it's too many. Yeah, you could probably have too many. Is that what you mean?
I mean,
it has to have what it has.
I'm not sure what you mean by that. Sorry. How many states can a block have for each event?
Oh.
Well, I mean, like it's a one-to-one normally, right? You receive an event and you update your state.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Ask again. Elaborate, please, and we'll pick it
maybe
up.
I'm missing some sort of specific detail you're talking about there.
I'm just as confused.
It's a transform type process. Maybe something specifically about the block package. I don't know. Off the top of my head. Probably. Yeah.
Sorry if you've answered this in the past. Well, we probably have. There are no new questions here. Well, there's quite a few new questions. What am I saying? With the recent developments and constant improvements made in using AI tools like Sora, what do you think the mobile dev space will look like in 2 to 5 years? Different?
Oh, that's bad. Right. I mean, in all honesty, I it's lovely to talk about all these like AI tools and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I still haven't found one that can actually do our job for us. Right. Not remotely close.
Yeah.
I mean, it's nice and you can use them to hint you, but they get you maybe 5-10% the extra way. But they might help you on a few lines of code. They're not going to like structure an application for you. Like I can't at the moment. I can't see that. Maybe 5. I mean, a lot happens in 5. Could happen in 5 years, right? But 2 to 5 years, who knows, right? It's going to be different, but I don't know how different, right? Like it's one thing that there is something about. There's a creative nature. I'm saying this, right? But it's an interesting one, right? Because like we talk about, like you think computers can never paint like people or whatever, right? yet we see that now. However, what they are doing is they're interpreting other people's work and painting the same style in a predictive manner. And I think that that's not the same as being completely creative from the ground up, like imagination from scratch. But a big enough corpus of works means that they can come up with stuff that you wouldn't think of, right? Now, when it comes to programming, it's creative work. It's definitely creative work, and you're dealing with logic and a few other things and complex systems and behavior. It's going to be tough for an AI to actually fill that gap and be the replacement programmer, and I don't think it's going to be anytime soon. But then again, I think there's this aspect of moving with the times. Be the person who understands the AI tools, how to use them, how to make effective use of them, right? And be ahead of the curve. And that's the honest truth. Learn them as their problems and their issues, and learn to work with them, right? I don't think that AI tools. Yeah, I think they're going to be used to augment behavior and to fast track things, but yeah,
I think it's going to depend on how quickly we can come up with the guardrails and filters to know, to have it, when it hallucinates, be able to catch itself hallucinating. We've got to mimic however we do it, because I don't know that we know how we did it.
I mean, a good example of what we see is, I've seen this the other day, like you ask it to generate some code or something, and it'll just hallucinate some functions and things that those don't exist in the API.
Yeah.
And then, but you could easily have it have the APIs as proper reference material and know that those things don't exist, right? But that's there's like a self-reinforcement thing that takes place there, but it's not that simple, right? Like general AI is not the same as specific AI for certain jobs.
It's like we've gone beyond the software having a dictionary and added the ability to have a thesaurus, but you still need writing guidelines, and we haven't quite got there yet. We have these generalized models that are the dictionary and the thesaurus now, and now we just need to figure out what the next stage has to be in the work.
I wonder, like, there's tools that we haven't even considered, things like what it might be to write the unit tests for a piece of code and an interface, and then tell it to make the code. And it knows how the test must work and must not work, and it can build the logic and fill out the functions based on those test cases so that they pass. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that is interesting, right? But then it still involves the two halves, right? You're saying out what you want, like a specification almost, and it's building to that. But you're always going to have to go over that code and see it. I can't see that point where you can't have code review taking place of all AI generated code.
I think the notion of giving tools to the LLMs is interesting, so that you could, for example, actually create a Python script and then run the Python script, and you could tell by its output if that was in fact the thing that fulfills the original text of the original request. So there's definitely some stuff that's happening, and like I said, it's moving so fast that it's like, we couldn't have predicted being here 2 years ago either. So saying 2 years forward is like, oh, it's really.
I just realized, why is this not a thing? Why is there not a thing that says show me synonyms?
Oh,
I want this, please.
Wow.
Please. I didn't even think about that. Why don't we have that? That would be perfect.
Wow.
I may have to go hunting for something like this. And if there is,
there's got to be. I bet there's a plugin for VS Code that's a thesaurus. I bet there is.
There has to be, right?
For IntelliJ, just go look up your IntelliJ stuff, see if we can find it. Right. Yeah.
Right.
All right. While you're doing that, I'll go ahead and mark this one done, and let's look at this one. WebView.js callbacks are not working with Flutter for those functions which are being utilized via JS interface in native Android. I presume it's native. There's a typo. What the hell?
WebView.js callbacks are not working with Flutter for those functions which are being utilized JS interface in native Flutter.
So this is the usual web view crossing boundaries issues, probably.
So there's a different mechanism they both use, if I remember rightly, but I'm not sure of that actually. No, because it uses because the web view wraps that mechanism. Perhaps you're missing the fact that you need to do enable JavaScript true on the web view. I know it sounds silly, but have you done that? Because it won't work without that.
You can follow up in a bit.
Even if you define the JS interface.
Yep. Okay. On to the next one. What's the best way or package to notify the user on app launch to update the app? Oh, we talked about this earlier, didn't we? Update mechanisms. Majid mentioned that at least once. What is the best way to do this? There's packages for it, isn't there?
I've got two interesting points. I'd say you can do something like literally put a JSON file in your cloud bucket, stick the hardcoded URL to that in your app, and that's it. When the app starts up, it requests that file, checks its version code using the plus package package info _ plus package, which tells you your package information. Let me just grab that up on stream. It says, I'll pop that in the chat so you can go find it. So you compare the version code that you get, this called build number, I think, in that you get back from that to the one that you've got in your JSON file. And if they're different, then in the JSON file, you can have the URL that you want to take them to, or the pop-up that you want to show them the text. That's it. You've just done it. And you can have a different URL for iOS and a different one for Android. So when it's Android, you go take them to that URL. When they press the button, when it's iOS, you take them to that one. You don't need some complex API. You don't need some complex libraries and packages and everything, right? That's simple. And when you update a new version, you want to force users, you just change the thing, and it forces the user to go download the latest version. And then on your app, when it starts up, you just check it. That's one way of doing it. Android, I know Android, I don't know about iOS, but I know Android Play Store has a update thing now, in-app update.
I think iOS does too, because I remember seeing some cross-platform package that makes sure that you get updated at the right time.
Well, I found a package called in-app update on Pub, which does the iOS, which does the Android one. Apparently, iOS does not offer this, but you may want to use the upgraded package according to this. So, someone else has done a package called Upgrader. I've never used it before.
Yes, I think that's the one I was speaking of.
This one.
Upgrader number 10. They must have really upgraded that whole package frequently.
Oh dear. And anyway, look, also went to support Android OS, Upgrader, something else. There you go. New release notes. What you want to do?
Oh, and you can put little messages and everything. Cool.
I don't know. I mean, this looks interesting. It has support for Go, country code limitations, app costs, how to integrate it.
So check that out.
I mean,
looks like fun.
I mean, there'll be lots of these sorts of packages in that update, but yeah, like I don't think there's any particular one that I'd say is better over another. It's not something that's like. I will mention that you need to put this feature in every app you build before you release it, and if you haven't got it, add it now as a priority.
Yeah, because otherwise you can't add it. You can't add it.
Yeah.
If you haven't got it in there already.
The versions you've already released, you can't turn them off. You can't force turn them off. You can't. That's it. They're out there. It's a one-way street. So you need to get them all over to the version that can be updatable as soon as possible. So yeah, if you're doing a greenfield app and it's the first time you're launching it, make sure you have the feature of being able to force upgrade a user, right? Mandatory update user. The other one to also mention is even a kill switch is also quite important. So being able to flip a flag in that JSON file, for example, and then your app sees it and says, I'm not going to start, down for maintenance, whatever you want to call it, until it's flipped off. And this way, you can actually have it so that the based on the version of the app that's making the request, you can switch off old apps, or you can or just turn off the app temporarily while you're doing changes on the server side. That you can do that without having requests coming in unexpectedly, basically.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, next. Trying to migrate from Hive to ISAR on web because of migration issues. However, I'm running into the ISAR GitHub issue 686, 20 off from the number of the beast. It seems ISAR is fully supported on web despite the badge on PubDev. Well, maybe it seems ISAR isn't fully supported on the web. That would make sense.
Let's have a quick look.
Yep.
So the badge. Right. Yeah. So I think that makes sense. Let's have a look. I'm gonna go and bring up issue 686.
We could see it.
Yeah,
it would be easier if you
give me 1
show
second.
the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't mean to rush you.
What we got here? Support ISO Web for version 3. Right. But are they on a later version than that? Is this like, can you support on an older version? 3.10, we're apparently on right now. Okay.
What's the problem?
Sorry. Yeah. So basically what it's saying is the number's too big. So, sorry, it's a bit scroll down there. Let me make that bigger and maybe, do you want to hide the question for a second? And then,
oh, sure.
That'll give us a bit more room.
Yep.
So, if I can give us a bit more screen real estate here. There we go. Yeah. So basically the error message here is basically saying that the integer literal, this number, can't be represented exactly in JavaScript. And this is because this number is too large. So your IDs of your objects can't be represented in the signed 64-bit JavaScript expects. I don't even think JavaScript actually can handle.
Well, here's a piece of data here. ISAR v4 is working, so maybe just a matter of upgrading ISAR.
So v4 is the dev release, yeah.
Oh,
so use that then.
Yeah, use the dev release and tell them to publish it soon, and then upgrade. Use the upgrader.
Yeah, version 3 web is not supported. You need to wait a bit longer to support for web. So the fact that the package in pub says web is because it's detected that it's compiled with web, like it has the flags for that. It doesn't mean it's going to be fully supported.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know if there's anything to be added to this right now.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Next question then. Or next to last question, actually. So we're getting down to.
Sorry, I don't know if that was adequate answer to that one. I don't think we can actually add anything to it.
Right. I mean, it doesn't work, right? So, do you have any other tips if you're ugly at UX and have no designer eye apart from copying some things? Hire somebody who knows how to do that. Bring somebody on as a partner. Bring a collaborator on that knows how to do that. I'm pretty ugly. You should. I don't even want to show you my website because my website sucks. Still waiting to get time to fix all that. But yeah,
Alex. This is the problem, right? Like as a developer, a lot of the time you have a developer's eye, right? You think about practicality and things, and I'd rather just have a box they type in. I can type in whatever they, I know. Or where you don't think, oh, it'd be easy if they had like a little drop down with suggestions and this, then the other, and that's what the UX can bring along, right? Like to ease the user experience of a particular product. And you talk about copying similar things. I think there's a kind of notion of using first of all, start using Figma or other similar tools. Start using designer tools to like lay out screens and work on them before you get to coding it. That's a critical point, right? yeah, I think there's a point there to actually ensuring that the oh god, Brian, sorry, I'm seeing messages popping. I'm getting distracted. Sorry. Yeah, no. So this is the point here of like getting used to doing design, but also making sure you're doing it before you get to deving it, right? And this way, you're working ahead, right? So you can actually see what's coming along, and you can start making those changes that you think are more appropriate. But if you're doing it as you develop, you end up making something that's functional and not necessarily practical, right? So I think doing your own design is a good part of this.
That's because the design has a huge impact on the way you architect the app. Yeah.
Exactly. But there's also an aspect of this which is experience. Like for myself, I'd say at the very beginning of my career doing development, I had the same problem and didn't have a design as I. Now from experience, I could say I have a better experience and have a better design as I. But again, it's never going to be as good as what someone who just does design all day long is going to be, right?
Right. So, I'm somewhere along the spectrum, but that's as far as I've gotten. Somewhere
all developers are on the design spectrum.
Exactly. Exactly. Let's see. And back to the ISAR thing just for a second. Apparently the author has not been active for a long time, so that's part of the problem.
Simon's not been active for a while. That's interesting. I mean, reach out to him on social media and see if he's been around. I haven't actually spoken to Simon in a while, but we actually had him on the show not too long ago.
Yeah, really.
Anyway.
Okay, next. This one I may actually have some input on. I'm just switching now from FVM to ASDF. In case you know the tool, do you know any big no-nos for using it? I don't know that tool, but I will tell you what I recommend to replace FVM with, and that's Puro, P-U-R-O, Puro.dev. I don't know ASDF, but maybe I should look it up, or maybe, are you familiar with it, Simon?
Sorry, I'll just a quick message to Simon.
Do you know ASDF? Do you know what he's talking about? I don't know that package. I don't know that. It's probably something like FVM, but that's all I know.
No, I've never used it. There's a few of those. What was the other one that you would use?
Puro.dev, yes. I highly recommend that for a few reasons. One is it's cleverly done. So rather than downloading the entire Git archive, if you need, so let's back up and say what problems this solves. Sometimes you need one project to stay on one version of Flutter while you move a different project to a different version of Flutter. And yes, you can keep going Flutter upgrade, Flutter downgrade over and over and over again, but that gets really slow and ugly. And so packages like FVM originally was the first one of the breed, I think, let you install multiple versions of Flutter, and then you could point each repo at its own version of Flutter. FVM did it the sort of brute force way, where it actually downloaded the entire distribution separately for each installed version that you have. Puro got smart and said, well, 90% of the bits between one release and the next are the same. And so it uses the trick of pointing the Git fetch at a common resource. And so it only has to download the parts that change. Very, very clever stuff. And I think it was the first one to do that. I think FVM is actually looking at possibly doing the same thing ultimately, but I looked, it wasn't doing that yet. So Puro also has two other hidden features that I consider really, really amazing. It has an eval. So you can say Puro version whatever, eval this string, and it treats it as a Dart VM call. And so you can check out things at different releases if you have multiple releases installed. And it also has a REPL. So you can say Puro REPL and actually do interactive coding against whatever version you've selected. It's I think two very underpraised things for that. And it has, if you go to Puro.dev, there are installers for all the major architectures. It even takes care of updating your, as best it can, of updating your ZSH files or whatever the configuration is on your platform. It does a pretty good job of updating that to point the paths at it for your versions of Puro. And It also works with all the major IDEs, so it knows how to tell the IDE, hey, here's where your SDK is now. And it's just clever stuff. Clever stuff. I did a podcast, not podcast. What am I talking about? Well, I guess I did a screencast on Puro a while back. I'll find the link in a minute or two. Oh yeah, Puro is great. Thank you. Yes, it's good stuff. I just know the guy that made it. That's all. Same guy did Boxy, also did Puro. So, if you know about Boxy, because I bring that up all the time too. Same person. Pretty cool stuff. So here's something about ASDF. Main benefit.
So ASDF is a standard version manager, and there's a Flutter plugin for it. So okay. ASDF is like it can be used with Ruby and a bunch of other languages. Ruby, Node.js, Elixir, Erlang, and more, and now obviously Flutter. Great, go for it. To be honest, and lots of frameworks and languages. Yeah, honestly, whatever works for you. I've got no strict opinion on one or the other.
Puro is very specifically Flutter related, though, so it's something like ASDF. ASDF is probably more generic and wouldn't necessarily have some of the features that Puro can, of course, add in. So yeah,
it depends on what you're looking for, right? Like in the end, just use what works for you. I don't think it makes a lick of difference. If it's not great for what you're doing, don't use it. Use something else. If it's great, then keep using it.
Oh, yeah. Alrighty. Let's go back to the list here. So we get rid of this one, and one of our go ahead.
Am I less just thinking about that? I'm less concerned about tooling. I don't know if it's a personal thing, but I'm less concerned about the tools that I use to build stuff than I am around the libraries that I put into the resulting code.
Ah, yes.
Is that? I'm just thinking about that. Like, I would be more concerned about what library I pick to do a certain job because I go to the end product versus the tooling to build the product, right? But I don't know, like anything, if you're using a library and it becomes untenable anymore for whatever reason, you stop using it. Same for any tool, I guess. Like if a tool slows down your pipeline or it becomes really slow, junky, you go find alternatives or build your own. Like, I don't know if there's any major answers to that. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, and here's Flutter London jumping in here. So
yes.
Do you have a page for that?
Yes, there is a page for that on meetup.com. I will post the link in the chat, which I should have done already. I'm very embarrassed I did not do that. Thank you for reminding me.
I'll just leave this up here for a second to remind you, yes, that Simon, it's time to promote the thing that you're mostly associated with.
Yeah. Yes. There you go, meetup.com/FlutterLDN, and
cool.
You can sign up to our event that's coming up in not so distant future. So that's on the April 9th here in Londinium.
Yes. Cool. Cool. Alrighty. Last question. One of our favorite questions. How do you render nested scrollable widgets? First, avoid that, please. If you can.
Don't.
Yes. Right.
That's the answer. So we did actually go through this before, and the answer is not actually as complicated as you think. I think this could lead on to a really great little coding exercise. So let's do that. How's that? Let me get set up. See if any more questions. Get your questions in.
I'm looking. There's still a couple things that have come in here. This is kind of an interesting question. Not marked as Q, but I want to create a generator that inputs a Dart file and creates a widget based on that model. Any suggestions as to what language or what you can use to parse the files to get all the props?
Wait.
Wow.
I want a generator that inputs a Dart file and creates a widget on that model. Any suggestions on what language and what can be used to use Dart?
Yeah, Petit Parser is probably the most powerful one for creating DSLs.
No, Dart already has an analyzer. It already generates it, right? Like use Dart to analyze Dart. I'm going to generate a generator that inputs a Dart file. So you're saying take like a Dart model, let's say it has like a bunch of fields that are strings and integers, and then what you want to generate like a form, so that the strings are like text fields, and then the integer fields are like text fields but with type number. Is that what you mean, F Squad? Yeah. Because if it is the kind of thing that you're looking for, yeah. So, yeah. Well, yeah. Yes, exactly. Okay. So, what?
Oh, sorry.
Well, so, yeah. No. So the answer was yes, exactly. So in that situation, what you do, you can go look up build runner. And what it allows you to do is actually analyze, basically run some build code during your build process. And then that can then analyze your source and generate Dart code at the end of it.
Source gen?
Yeah, exactly. Source gen. Build runner, source gen, it's all part of the same ecosystem. You go look up the packages on pub. There's plenty of guides around. You don't have to use annotations. Annotations are just a nice way of saying, remember, if you're doing like a generic package, you're saying, oh, just go annotate some code because you don't know what the structure of their code is going to be. But since you know the structure of your code, just have it read the files in the models directory and then build the widgets for it. So in fact, one of the very first talks, in fact, I'm going to go throw something out to George here if he's listening still. We did I don't know if it's actually recorded on our YouTube channel, but we did do a talk. We had a talk on building code generators. I think there was one at FlutterCon as well, but there's tons of stuff around about building using code generation. Annotations are not required to do code generation at all. It's just a way of doing it. It's not required. So.
Okay, that was the last question. So let's do some live coding if we're up for it.
Yeah, let me get that.
Were we going to do this? We're going to do this, the how to render nested scroll.
So yeah, because I think I get this question a lot, and it's super simple now, given recent changes to Flutter to solving this. So I think it's worth exploring it for a little bit.
Cool.
Should we take let me get this going. Should we take a 5-minute break or something?
Sure, we can do that. I could probably
couple of minutes. Let's give it a couple minutes.
All right. So we're going blank.
Stick around.
But we'll be right back here. We'll be right back.
Yeah.
We're just gonna take care of ourselves.
We will hang on. Let's see. Yep. There you go. Back after the break. We'll be back in just a minute.
Sure.
Do you want to stick around, Randall, or do you want me to?
No, I'm gonna take a minute break as well.
Take 5.
Okay.
And we're back.
Dun,
Are you done?
dun,
You're
dun,
mute?
dun,
Yeah.
dun, 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 dun. Okay,
Yeah.
we're
Welcome
back.
to Coding with Simon and Friends.
Oh, I'd be the friends.
Let's see what we can get going here.
Simon and friends. Simon, and friends.
So I built my machine. I built a new computer. So this is a whole new rig, and we're going to see how it performs in building and running a Flutter app live on stream whilst we're screen sharing and everything else. Let's find out. Let's find out together. Yay.
Okay.
So let's grab one of our previous examples. What's the most recent one on here? I should really put these in reverse order, date order, shouldn't I? Never mind. Let's start doing that. And then I'll probably flip the others around at some point. 2024, 0320. Yeah. Hold up, we get 2024 now on the date. Yeah. Right. Is that coming through okay? Readable?
Sorry, I had to bounce to another screen. Yeah, could be. No, that's probably fine. Yeah.
Okay. Let's get rid of all this old code. Sorry if that made everyone dizzy.
I was like, whoa, slow it down, sir. Slow it down.
We ain't on no carnival, right?
Yeah.
Right. Let's see. Let's run that and see what happens. Oh yeah, I need to update that, don't I? Have you actually gone through that process of upgrading the old Gradle plugin stuff? It's not simple. It's kind of a pain.
Almost anything with Gradle seems to be weird.
Yeah. So there's this. Let me make this bigger just for those that haven't seen it yet. Yeah. So you'll see this. There's this. Basically, Gradle's changed. They've changed an upgrade of AGP, which is Android Gradle plugin. There's a requirement to change the way that we now do plugins to this new kind of like layout and system. And this walks you through what the steps are to have to modify your existing code base to do it. So yeah, as of 3.16, it's recommended to be for 3.19 onwards. So yeah, basically, I think we're at 3.19 now, aren't we?
Yeah,
So,
just 3.19.3 or 3.19.2, one of those.
Yeah. So yeah, get this done now before you get deprecated.
Actually, maybe on another one already, because I know they were moving some numbers around. Nope, nothing yet. Nothing came out yet today.
Well,
it often does. Wednesdays, it seems to be their release day, so it's often right during the show we get a new release of Flutter.
So that was interesting.
3.19.3 was 2 weeks ago. See, so it's already overdue.
My machine didn't blink an eye, so that's good.
Oh,
right. So, all right. So the question was how to do nested scrolling. And nested scrolling can mean a lot of things. So maybe if you want to be clarify what you're asking explicitly, just to make sure that we're answering the right question here. But for the minute, let's go to my sort of go-to example here. So first of all, what you want to do is lots of people do this, and I'm going to show you how not to do it, and then I'll show you how to do it. So this is how not to do it. Single child scrollable widgets inside the list view must be scrollable. Yes. In the same axis, I assume, Pradeep, right? Which is even worse. So let's do 20 items. Each item will be, we'll use aspect ratio so we can just force like a particular aspect. So to pad it out. And then we'll have a single child scroll view inside that. And then that can have a child that's, I don't know, a column made up of 3 buttons. We can have button index I, because there was question around tapping inside. So let's make that a bit smaller. All right. So right here, we've got a list view builder with 20 items, aspect ratio. Each one has a scrolling child in it, and each one has a fully contained list of buttons, right? So section 1, section 2, 3, 4, so on. Now, this would blow up, well, probably blow up if we didn't have the aspect ratio, right? So the aspect ratio is forcing out live chat replay is always turned on all of our YouTube videos, Richard. If you find that it's not turned on one of our videos, please let us know. But all of our videos that we record have live chat replay turned on. Yeah, you should be getting that on all of the live videos. It's not anymore. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear.
Did StreamYard change the way that it creates the channel or creates the show?
Oh dear, that's not right. Bear with me 1 second.
1 second while we go meta for a second. We'll do this part of the show about the show.
I literally check all these things before we start the show.
If you go back to last week's show, see if the live chat replay is there.
All right, here's one interesting thing for you. There's not an option for it anymore. I'm literally on the YouTube video right now in the settings. Let me go on to this on this one. Let's go on to the previous video here. I'm sorry, I can't show this. Privacy and all that jazz. Automated chapters, featured places, concepts, tags, language, recording date, location, license, comments and ratings.
Julian says, looks enabled for me for the last 2.
I'm not seeing any place where we can even disable it. So yeah. I wonder if this is...
Maybe it just comes up differently in the viewer, because I know the viewer changed recently where I'm starting to see live chats where I didn't before. I think they rearranged the default.
Maybe, I'll tell you what you might have done. If you minimize the live chat, it might be like a little arrow at the top right of the suggested videos. Maybe it's a UX change. I know it sounds silly, but you know, I'm not actually, to be honest, there used to be a way of turning it off and on, and I don't have that ability anymore. So I'm assuming it's always on, but we'll come back to that on time. Right. Anyway, let's get back to this. So
they
moved it on mobile. You have to swipe up the comments button to get to it. There you go. Good. At least we haven't lost that. I didn't want us losing all the chat because it is part of the show.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you
All right, let's
really
go.
need to be able to refer back to those because we're pasting URLs there all the time, and if we kind of like to have that stick around with the content of the show.
Right. So let's do this. So we've got these different sections. Now, if I make the content larger, say 10 buttons, now what happens is we get this problem.
Ew.
I want to scroll the outside list, but I can't because I'm scrolling every internal list. And when that list gets to its end, I can't scroll still because it's all like, this is what you do not want ever. Right?
Yeah.
So the point of this is not actually to achieve it this way, right? This is the way not to do it. Okay. So the way to do it, don't ever do this in any UX. Like, you can make it thinner, you can do all sorts of other things. Like you can do sort of some notions around what you might want to do, but yeah, this is not the way to do it. Okay. All right. So I'm going to comment that out. I'm going to put in another way of doing exactly the same thing, but works. Right. So first of all, we don't use a list view builder. That's the first problem, right? What you want is a custom list view, custom scroll view, sorry. A custom scroll view, you give it slivers. In this case, we want 20 items. So we can now do, just do a for loop in here, for example. There's plenty of other ways of doing this. Just bear with me here, just to see what I'm doing. And then each one of these items, we want to have a scrolling piece of content in, so it's a sliver list. And a sliver list requires a delegate, and we'll use a builder delegate. Why not? And that builder is going to return back what each item is. So in this case, I'm going to wrap this with an aspect ratio 9. It's the same. We actually don't need the aspect ratio, so we'll remove it in a minute. But yeah, and then we want a column with various bits of content in. So what we're going to do instead of that, we're going to have 10 buttons. We're going to take this and we're going to put in our item count, child count 10, and we're going to return back one of our items. Right. And then this one on the outside becomes index just to match up with the previous way we're doing it. So we have that. We can get rid of all of this. Well, yeah, let's get rid of the aspect ratio. Right, that's how you do it. Now, if I refresh, he says, oh yeah, there you go. So now what you're going to see, let's just put this in right. So now what you're going to see is we've got you got 0 through to 9 for the first list, 1 through to 19 on the second list, 2 and so on. Look, we've got one long scrolling list, but actually these are separate widgets. So each one of those lists of 10 is actually a separate sliver list widget. So this is allowing you to concatenate all these lists together into one scrolling list, achieving the same goal of I want scrolling content and I want them to all vary in size, vary in number of items, let's say. Give fixed height. You got to give me more than that, Pradeep. What do you mean give fixed height? To what? These have a fixed height. Wait, what are you asking?
To things with a broken height. You got to fix them.
I have no idea what he's asking.
I don't know. Yeah, sometimes.
But yeah, basically, this is the thing that always goes wrong, and then we can do some nice, cool stuff. Let's add some cool things, shall we? They make it. It is scrollable. What are you asking? You mean each item? That's the whole point of doing this. So you don't give them a fixed height, so they change based on the content. If you want scrolling vertical instead of scrolling, you don't do that. It's just not done. That's hugely horrible UX. You can't use your app.
Yeah, don't make the same mistake that the Dart API pages make. Where you have to scroll, and you got you're scrolling through the code samples, and that's a different scroll than the scroll on the edge, and you can't scroll on the edge until you scroll through the code samples.
You have to kind of like make your content smaller so that you're scrolling on this inside thing, and then you touch on the outside to scroll on the outside of the view, which you can do in that first example, but it's like this is really bad UX. For what reason? Why would you want to do that? So I mean, we said this before. If you want to come with a code snippet or an example, then post a gist and put the hash of the gist in your chat message. Like Stack Overflow.
That's also horrible. Yeah.
Like Stack Overflow and nested scrolling. I don't know what you mean.
Well, Stack Overflow has these scrollable boxes, but you can still scroll the outside of the page as long as you're outside of the margin.
Well, you can just do that with a normal list view. I don't know what. That's what you were doing anyway, Pradeep. I'm not sure what you're asking there. But again, you don't do it. Let's put it on the R1. So here it is. Here's our different scrollable widgets, right? And what we're just saying is there you go. Now I can scroll the outside list on the edge, and I can scroll the inside list on the middle. Is that what you're asking? I mean, again, it's just not done because it's not practical, right? So let's just do a light gray here, just maybe so you can see the inside and the outside here. You could even add just to emphasize that point, we could add like right? So there's our outside, there's our inside, but I can drag it by any one of the gaps because I'm on the outside content, right? But otherwise I'm going to be dragging this content on the inside. When you get to the end, do you want it to scroll? Is that what you're saying?
Can't tell. Well, there's that 12-second delay between us saying something and us seeing.
Well, whilst I'm doing that, I mean, like, so there is what's the clamp? Is it clamp? No, clamp. I mean, it's something that we don't have like nice control over, which is this notion of if you're nested inside something else, you have the nested scroll widgets, but they're not meant for this use case. Yeah, nested scroll view is the idea about intrinsically linking these things, but it's not really meant for this. It's kind of this notion of you want to scroll some main content and have like an app bar scroll and things like that.
Pradeep just followed up here. Except I don't understand that either.
Yeah. After 10, that automatic parent. Yeah, that's what I just said. Basically, you get to the end of the 10 and then it automatically scrolls the parent, right?
Yeah.
And you can bubble up those notifications, but I don't think the parent will pay attention to them. There's no reason why you couldn't, though. We could certainly have a play around with that notion. But to be honest, the reason why it's not a priority is because you don't really want that behavior having scrolling content and other scrolling content like we're just shown here is just a bad idea. It's just a really bad UX. Like to have to, you're better off like rethinking your design. And as I said, if your design requires you to like, or your logic flow, if your data model requires you to have lists of content, multiple lists of content, then that's when you use this kind of model of a custom scroller with multiple sliver lists. And you can put stuff in between, right? So you can mix all sorts of content in a sliver list, right? Whereas not so much in this aspect, not so much with this. But I see your problem. So notifications get bubbled up. Things this is stretching. There's a scroll behavior. Oh, I haven't looked at this stuff in a while. See, start is the default. Why is it winning? I guess so there's when you deal with touch, there's a thing called the gesture arena.
Yeah.
This is basically they duke it out. Yeah.
Yep.
But there's this notion of as the events get passed, you can get like a more lower level item takes control. I think basically what you want to say is you can't scroll this, therefore don't be part of the arena, which means that the parent widget, which is scrollable, becomes the arena winner. Let's have a little explore because it's been a while since I touched this stuff. So, all right. So there's a couple of things we can do here. One is we want the scroll back. So at the moment, I don't think anything's going to work because we've got this behavior where overflow it pays attention to overflow. I was pretty sure one of these meant you didn't have to, but it looks like scroll configuration. Whoops. Well, I went full screen. I didn't mean to. Exit full screen. There you go. Okay. Let's have a look. Scroll configuration. Inherited widget. Behavior. And behavior. So you can get the current one and copy it. Overscroll true. So we could copy it with overscroll set to false. That sounds like a plan. Let's try that. Scroll behavior dot off context, was it? Copy with over. Is that what I was looking for? Of? I thought it was of. Oh no, it was scroll direction, scroll configuration of. There we go. What does that do? So we get to the end. Get to the end. At least it doesn't overscroll now, which is good. It still pays attention to the. It still pays attention to the touch events. Start is the correct behavior we want here. I don't really want to do something custom. I'm pretty sure we could probably do this with configuration. So let's go follow. Let's go follow. Do we want to follow the state of things? It's interesting. What happens if we use drag start behavior? Down. See, yeah, it basically means it's not gonna abide the Arena rules, so it's not what we want. I have actually overridden this kind of stuff before, and I don't see a reason why we couldn't again. Let's go find out. So the thing that actually deals with the touch input is scrollable. So yeah, here it is here. There you go. So when we build our scroll widget, scrollable is the outside bit that actually deals with scrolling and the behavior of input. Then the viewport is the thing that does the rendering, and then viewport offset is the thing that controls the position of the scroll. So viewport offset is created by is implemented, should I say, by the scroll position, which is output by the scroll controller. So we want to dive into the scrollable here and to see what increment calculator. Oh, that's helpful. Right. So let's keep going and see where this deals with the input, and then if we can override that behavior, right? I mean, I know we can do a few things. Let's hold up. Sorry, I know I'm scrolling through there. I'm trying to find the right thing. Here, scrollable state. Okay. Question here is, where's our gesture arena coming into this, and can we override that behavior? Gesture settings off.
Ooh.
Touch slop. Oh, okay. Slope. Slop. Yeah. Interesting. Don't know they added that now, but that's good that they have. Right, let's keep going here. Before we get down to the actual bit. Set can drag. Well, that's interesting. Just a recognizer. Axis vertical. Supported devices. Drag down, start, update, end, cancel. Vertical drag gesture recognizer. The thing is, starting a gesture, yeah, position drag. But this is the scroll position. Bonus. Oh, this might be what we want. Hang on. So, is there a way to say don't? Hang on. Ask drag equals value. Handle drag cancel. So set can drag. What is that being called by? Diagonal drag behavior. They've added some changes to this last time I looked at it.
Well, they probably had to add stuff for two-way scrolling
Mhm.
because that's fairly new.
So this is an interface. Let's see what it's applying to. Scroll context. All right. Whether the user can drag the widget, for example, to initiate a scroll. Okay. So the decision on whether they can drag the widget is actually taking place, but it's taking place here on the front end. And it doesn't deny it based on if the scroll controller says it can or can't. However, this is called by the scroll context. So although we've got it in here, so I'm trying to find back to where it was. It was this one. Yeah, this is the normal one. Yeah. So let's have a look. Drag, handle down, hold, stop the current activity, hold scroll, start a drag activity. And the thing is, the gesture itself, the gesture recognizer is going to output these events. It's up to this not to. Is it gesture recognizer? I've got to remember now. Consider thing. Bear with me. I'm trying to remember. I know I'm hunting through here. If anyone, I'll explain as much as I can as I go. Basically, we're just hunting through. This kind of gets into the gesture recognizer system where it adds the pointers and the gesture arena entry. This is kind of going into that what we said before about it deciding. So there's a couple of ways we can do this, right? We want it so that when you get to the bottom of the scroll, you can't scroll it any more down.
Yeah.
And we need to denote that is a possibility that can happen. So over in, where was it? Scroll context, there is that function set can drag, which seems to me that you're saying the user can and can't drag. So in this case, if it's not set to false, then it clears the gesture recognizers and cancels the current event, saying basically you can no longer have input into this widget. But we want dragging in we still want dragging in the opposite direction, just not in the direction that we're at the bottom edge of. So when you scroll to the top, you're at the top edge. When you're at the bottom, you're at the bottom edge, which is a different behavior to what they're showing here. So as far as I can tell, what we need to do, and we can do this, is build a little custom scroll widget that does what we want. It won't be fully featured maybe, but it'll do what we want it to do to solve this problem. So in this situation, we could just deal with like vertical scrolling, have a vertical scroll gesture recognizer. And in effect, we're saying we want to replace scrollable with our own, because scrollable doesn't have this behavior. I feel like it should, and I don't know why it wouldn't. And I'm really curious, maybe this would be a great PR to go back to the repository, because I feel like this is something that isn't unwanted, right? I think there's this notion of it shouldn't be capturing the scroll anymore in that direction if you can't scroll. I think it's just be default behavior, right? I mean, if you're dragging something and you reach the end, that's it, you reach the end, you can't scroll anymore. It does mean that overflow is turned off, but then this is the point. If your overflow is turned off on a widget, then you expect not to try and drag anymore, even when you go to the min boundary or the max boundary.
Probably is that makes an asymmetrical relationship then, that if I'm scrolling up by a couple units, then down by a couple units, it might not return it back to where it was before, because we might have hit the end scroll and now the scroll's applying to the parent instead.
Yeah.
But maybe that is what you want. Maybe, functionally that's actually kind of what you want anyway, but it just seemed odd that if I pulled up a couple units, then go down a couple units, that I wouldn't be right back to where I was.
again, it's the whole idea of you don't really want to be doing this in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, well, so how do we make an okay thing out of a bad deal to start with, right? It would
So,
be weird.
All right, let's just sort of come back into this. So we do have a way of dealing with this, even though it says position.drag. It returns a drag model object, the abstract class, and we can do whatever we want with this. Officially, we're supposed to return back a drag event, but we could tell it it's just still inactive. I don't think that would change the behavior of how we're scrolling, right?
I think here's the crux of the problem here. Pretty finally kind of spoke.
Well, it's the same thing. It's the same problem. You've got a scrolling widget inside another scrolling widget.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you expect. Again, what you're building here, that you want to do that. It's terrible UX. Like we just said before, having something scrollable and something scrollable is just not the way to do it, ever. There's there's no reason to do that at all. Anyway, but let's say you do. That's what
just in case.
Just in case. I'm wondering if there's a way maybe we could bubble up the notifications of overscroll and deliver them as scroll events to the parent scrollable.
That sounds like a hack.
It is. I mean, it means that we can use the widgets that are already built in, right?
Sure.
So, for example, here, if I was to wrap into it. So for those that don't know, there's a thing called notification listener. I'm sure it is. Yeah. And these are notifications, and you can use this yourself. You can dispatch your own notifications, and these are things that come up the tree. So you get a notification object delivered to you. So if I just do this sort of generic one, which I can't remember, I thought it was just notification. Remember, get context. Let's have a look. No, it's just context. Oh, boolean. Yeah, we have to return a ball. The boolean is if you wanted to continue bubbling or not. I can't remember which, if it's true or false. But we will type return true anyway. Right.
That's why you should always have enums or the word is.
I literally was thinking that myself. Okay, so if I scroll this and we get to the bottom, what we see here, you've got a bunch of overscroll notifications and scroll anywhere, let go. So all these overscroll notifications are ones that could bubble up, and there's no reason. We have the metrics in here about what amount was overscrolled, right? So I don't see any reason why we couldn't apply those deltas that drag up. So I don't see a reason why we couldn't apply the delta information to that. So what you can do is you can just say, I want to filter only for overscroll notification, and now I'm only ever going to get those. The question is, how can I apply that to what's above? I'm honestly thinking of the direct approach right now, rather than anything else. We could do, I wonder if we can do scrollable of context here. Why not? We'll find out, won't we? Right. Yep. So this is going to get the parent scrollable from this context. So this context is that build item, and the parent is going to be the list view. So this will get the scrollable, and then from this we can get the current scroll position, and we should be able to do a adjust pixels or something. It was a one-time correct by correct pixels. That's it. And then in theory, we should be able to do just notification dot drag details local delta y question mark. I think that's right. Should we find out? Let's
Well, it
find
needs to
out.
be in the scroll direction, but that's so do
I will find out.
Okay, yeah.
Why is that trying to import that? Do it to me. Right. So scroll down. Okay, scroll up. Okay, so I'm getting events printed off, so it must be trying to do it. Let's do negative. I think maybe I have it.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Whoa. Whoa, what did you do?
I did something.
You grew those boxes.
I don't know how. Yeah.
What did happen there? That was
Null
weird.
checking, null operate. Okay, interesting.
Oh, that's no good.
So over scroll is suggesting that there's no drag because there's an over scroll mount. Hang on. I mean, I guess if I'm not dragging, we don't want to do anything. Let's say details. So yeah, let's do that. I thought it was correct. I mean, I can do set pixels. So we can actually do set pixels and then let's do dot position here. No, it's correct. Where am I at? Pretty lame, but we'll try it. I mean, activity is right. It's basically saying you can't call set pixels because you're not scrolling. I mean, we can say scroll by, right? Can we not? Did over scroll by. Did update scroll by delta. Can we not like just tell it that it's dispatch scroll update notification? Oh, thanks. That's not what we want. We actually want to scroll it. Begin activity. I guess we could like, oh, wait a minute. Drag start details. Can we just do that? That'd be really cool. Can then pass details. Will it just magically work? That'd be nice. What do you want? I thought it was drag start details. What's this one? Drags. I'm trying to drag update details. Can't be typed drag start details. Okay, so with the drag behavior, we actually want the starting, we get back drag, then we update it with update, and then when we end, we need to end it. However, we can do that. This is going to be pretty cool if this works. And we can actually ship this as a widget. And you just wrap whatever in the widget and it just works. That'd be cool. Let's have a look. So let's get rid of that. Pull this to notification. Is it over scroll part with normal scroll notification? So we want scroll notification. What we're going to do is we'll need to have state. So we'll have to make a little widget out of this, but that's good. Let's do it. let's make a stateful widget, and we'll call it what? Inherit overflow.
Ooh.
Inherit overflow add scroll. Sure. And then this can have our drag object. And then we'll pull down, we need a child, and we'll pull down a notification into here. This feels like fun. We like having fun, don't we?
Mm.
All right, so we're going to need to understand the flow of events. So let's whack this up here, and then we can see what magically happens. What can possibly go wrong? So let's restart and see what we get. Good. So I scroll down, let go. So what we get are scroll start. Interesting. With a drag start. Then we get user scroll notification, which is which direction we're going in. And then the overflow with the drag. We only want to start applying our own drag if we get an overflow. However, we need to capture the start information from drag start. And we'll probably want to know the scroll direction that the user is going in. So we'll need each one of these events. So let's make a little switch on. Oh, can we do we can do one of the new switch names, can't we? Because they
switch expressions.
Yeah, do one of these, and then what is it? Drag details.
Well, are you returning a value?
Only
or are
use
you
named fields. Yeah. Right. Oh, do you need curly braces, right? I don't know. We haven't played.
the arrow is wrong. If you're got case, then you need to use colon, not arrow.
Okay, sure.
Arrow. Yeah.
It's not that. No, we want to extract a member.
Okay. But yeah, you were mixing up the expression.
Yeah, but don't you just do
case form? Colon drag details. Should just be colon
drag. You have to put the type in there.
Colon final. Colon final drag details. Colon final, like that. Yeah.
That's what's doing. Okay.
Yeah, you had to declare the variable there because you're destructuring.
Yeah. So we actually want start details. We need to capture those.
It all took a while for it to sink in for me. It was. I can see how it had to be what it was, but there's so many weird corner cases in the spec for patterns.
Right, and then we've got user scroll. May not need this, but I'm gonna add it in there. And then again, it's final. Was it direction? Like that. And then we've got our over scroll case. And then we're gonna want out of that so we do have like over scroll, but that's not the same because it has like a continuing journey. So I think drag update details is kind of what we want. We'll store these in a second, and then the following event, scroll end, and I'm guessing the last one is idle. Yeah, okay. So buttons, fingers. Right. And then we want, out of this one, we want the, actually need anything? I don't think we need anything. Drag end, details, maybe. All right, so right, so drag start. Where's my drag start? No, we don't need we don't need the breaks, Mustaf. I'm just being stupid. Is that okay? Can I be stupid? I'm gonna be stupid. I'm allowed to be stupid. No, it's just it's force of habit. So it is. Right. So where was I at? Right. So we do drag start. We save it. We do user, and we save the direction. So we're going to scroll direction. Yeah. Okay. And then what we're saying is, okay, then we get over scroll, right? So when we get our first over scroll, we're going to have drag equals null. So then we set drag to equal, now we need the position. So we'll grab our scrollable and position from that. Let's do it in one file step. There we go. Then we want to essentially make our drag with those drag update details. Yeah, drag start details, sorry. So I guess we should also check to make sure they're not null, just in case the events come out of sequence. What the hell happened there, Simon? Right. And okay, and what else did this want? Drag. It wants a cancel callback. Okay, we can do that. On drag cancelled. I guess we want to reset our state. We'll come back to that in a minute. Okay. Okay, so we've now got our drag event, and we want to call update with our drag details that we got initially. I guess actually this is the thing. I drag. Was it drag update details? There we go. Now forcing that not to be null. Is that the same up here? I know. Let's go find out. Yes, it's nullable. We don't want the nullable one. Boom. How about this direction? That's fine. Okay, so by just specifying the type here, we're saying it's not null. So it won't match the case statement then. All right. So in this situation where actually so a little bit of change here else. So now that we have drag in this case, because it's not null, and in that situation, we just want to update with the drag details. And then when we get end,
you probably could have lifted that up into the pattern rather than have a separate chat, but okay. Maybe. Yeah, don't worry about it. Just other ways.
Yeah. Oh, you mean for the drag? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like do a case statement or whatever. Yeah. There's a bunch of ways to do it. I'm not too concerned, but like for a moment, let's just get working. And then, so end, drag details. And if we need that, we'll find out. So now we say if we have a drag, then we want to end it with the end details. So
it looks like drag in details, not drag end details, but yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, you have it right.
If we get end of a scroll, I think it's always good for us to make sure that we cancel our drag.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we don't have the details, just in case. I can't see it happening, but maybe it's good to be a bit more protective on these things. So if it's not equal to null, then we'll do this. Else, cancel it, just to make sure, right? And then at the end of this, we're going to set drag back to null. And so the process can start again. I think that might work. We didn't need scroll direction at the moment because I'm just relying on the fact that the scrolling is in the same direction. Let's find out. It can only break, right? Did it hot restart? Okay, it did. Oh, it worked.
Really? Cool.
Scroll to the end. Oh, yeah.
Oh, nice. Well,
And
that's weird.
Scroll down, look. Scroll to the end, scrolls up. Scroll this back down. Keep going. It scrolls down the list.
Oh, ship it.
That is a widget right there.
There you go.
Beautiful. That is nice and simple. All right, let's tidy it up a bit. And then that, I like that. That's awesome.
This I learned today, that you can actually do this.
What, are you saying this, or is it someone else?
No, it's great.
Are you saying this, or did someone else say that?
No, I'm saying it. I'm just saying it.
All right.
On this day today, yeah. But other people are clapping, so yeah, you're like getting acknowledged.
So it's
remember to support our Patreon.
Yeah.
We accept donations in the form of Patreon, so you may.
Let me find. I'll put the link on screen.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, we're at the top of we're at the end of the third hour, so it's probably time to start wrapping up.
I keep forgetting because we did it an hour earlier today for me.
Yeah.
Right. Where's the link?
I mean, I'm going to start turning to a pumpkin here too because I got things to do.
So let's just deal with the cancel. So we're saying if the drag gets cancelled, it's going to call this callback. So we want to clean up our state. So I think we should just nuke our variables again. I can't think of anything else. I know I'm going to do set state, but actually we don't need to do set state because these are actively actioned during the build. We can also pull this function out of here, which would be better, and put that into its own on scroll notification. Now, I guess we kind of want to. I guess if we action this. So the return true, return false depends on this event, right? So we actually want to return false. We capture it, but we don't actually do anything with it. So I'm trying to remember what the right way around for this method is. So let's go take a look at what the docs say because I forget. Return true to cancel notification bubbling, false to allow notifications to continue dispatching. So because we handle the overscroll event, if we get to this point, we should be returning back true. And then at this point, we should also return back true. And And I guess the same goes in here. Return true. And then, and then the default fall through is return false. Is there a nicer way to do this middle bit? If we could do if drag is sort of not null like that, then we update and return true as a quick, like, you know. Oh, yeah. And then if obviously it's null in that case, right? So then we could flow into the default case, which allows us to, so I don't know if that simplifies it or not. Yeah, because if we don't have start details, then we didn't have that it's false. If we do, we want to get the scrollable. Well, we don't need to specify it. This should be. Ooh, yeah, okay. I wonder if that. You also use a local here. Don't know if it's simpler or not. Have you seen people do this? Most people don't know that you can do that, but I think it just throws people off, right? When you have two equals in the same line.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If people don't know, it's just saying one thing to equal to the other to equal the other. It's done.
Mm-hmm.
This is super smooth. All right, I think let's validate we haven't broken anything. We don't need set state because we don't need to build. We set our start. We should set our start details back to null as well. Here, why not? Yeah, I can't think of anything. I can't think of anything more specific than that. So okay, so let's we'll leave that commented bit in there. What happens if we get rid of? So I'm saying overscroll to false, right? So that's another thing we actually need in there, I think, to do this. Let's see what happens if we remove that. What can go wrong? No, it still works. Wait a minute. If I scroll after it works, it doesn't work on. Does it work on the initial? It does. It's got a weird effect though because it stretches as you drag it. So that might be what you want. I think maybe we have a wrap widget with scroll configuration. And then have this override the overscroll behavior and default off because it doesn't make sense to have it on if you're going to scroll more. But you know, if you want to set it back to true, you can. All right. So I think our inherit, overflow, and scroll need to come up with a better name for that. Then we can get this back into the this would be a reasonable thing to put back into the Flutter repository. I'm pretty sure people want this.
Cool.
I disagree with it. That's definitely cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Like it may not seem super smooth on your side, but this is it does what it says, right?
Yeah.
It also
We're-
means that you don't need to worry about the outside scrolling regions, right? Because you can actually, once the content's reached the end, it just scrolls the outside. All right, let's chuck it on a gist and then call it a day.
Yeah, there we go.
So
I can get off and get to lunch and get working for my client now that I have a full-time paying client.
So what are we calling this? Inherit scroll thingy bob. Inherit overflow as scroll. Is there a better name that we can give this thing?
Bubble scroll up.
Scroll overflow.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Naming things is hard. Stop making me name things.
Where's that PS4? Scroll over. Anyone?
Anybody in the chat have a name for it? That'd probably be a good query. We could ask Bard. Let's ask Bard. Bard, what would the name be for something that does this? Just paste your entire gist into Bard and say, name this.
Name it.
Yeah.
What is
I call it bread. No.
I post, scroll parent on edges. Nested scroll. Scrolling child.
Scroll.
Scroll. Enable nested scroll.
Scrollception. The usual Inception meme on that, Scrollception. Scrollioli.
Inherit. I don't like the inherit because that has other meanings, right? So I feel like
Double scroll.
nested overflow scroll. Overscroll nested scroller.
Double Dutch scroll. Ignore child scroll on ends. No, that's just complicated. Skrill. Just change the O's to E's. Not that it means anything. Or spell scroll backwards. Lorcscs. Lorks.
Child can scroll. Yeah. It's inherited overflow as scroll. That's what's. I can't move on. Thank you for your ideas, everyone. But we tried. I'm all out. Nothing seems to fit the mark. So, is this the main widget? No, Brendan. Sorry. This is so. What this is, it's a widget that you put between two scrollable widgets. In this case, like a single child scroller and list view, and then it means that when you get to the edges of the inner scroll, it scrolls the parent, which apparently is something that everyone wants.
Nobody should ever implement it.
Crazy scrolling, yes. So it's about overflow, right? So the inner scroll finishes, the out scroll takes over.
Whack a scroll, like whack-a-mole. Whack a scroll. Yep. See, Brendan, you're supposed to show up 3 hours earlier. Then you wouldn't have to keep asking these questions at the end of the show.
What was this? Hang on, let me find it. Scroll parent on edges. I guess.
Boundary something boundary. Golden scroll. Yeah, there we go. Better scroll, just better.
Scroll parent on overflow.
Yeah, that'll work.
All right, that's it. I'm sticking with it.
Yeah, ship that. Just ship it.
Scroll parent overflow. Just want to make sure we're all good. Yeah. All right. That's what it named. Scroll parent on.
Scrollable child of scrollables. I still think it needs an Inception name. Scrollception. Scroll and scroll. List view with a bunch of single child scroll views handles child scroll and edge scroll to the parent. Believe it or not, that's not the longest name in the SDK. You'd still have to add about another 40, 50 characters to that. I found that one day, the longest name in the current SDK. It was huge. I made a tweet about it. I have to go back and find that.
Right. And let's grab that latest copy. Pop it in there. Pop it just. Go for it. Pop that in the chat.
Okay, cool.
So, in fact, do you know what we could do now? Now we have a gist. If anyone wants to have a go with this right this second, you can with Dart Pad.
Yes. Oh, yes.
So there you go. So right now, any one of the gists in my gists, yes, we can say that. Let's just share this little.
Your gist hub.
Gist hub, yes. Anything in my gist hub.
Your gist hub.
You can just open it up. You put the ID of the gist in the top. And there you go. You can try it out. And guess what? It doesn't work on web.
Oh, wait. No.
Oh, no, it does. It does.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't because it's not touch drag. You have to scroll your mouse.
Oh, right.
And of course, the ratio means that all 9 can be seen in this example. But if I make it smaller, it works with scrolling of the mouse. There you go.
Woohoo. Ship it. Definitely.
Yeah. But
excellent.
Scroll parent on limit. Oh, damn it. It's too late, Brendan. It's too late.
Just edit it.
That was so close.
Weird. Okay.
It's set now. Screw it.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that should. I'll see if I can get that back into the main SDK. I think that's. I think it's a small piece of code, easily testable, something we can put in.
Yeah. Cool.
Maybe validate a couple of the use cases where it's null there, just to make sure that it can never be null.
Well.
Right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. Sorry, Brendan, you joined too late, but you can go back and watch from the beginning if you want to. And we'll be here same time, same place, answering questions and doing live coding. Same time next week. In how many hours from now? I don't know. I've lost track.
165.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because it's 168 minus 3. So that's the way.
Yeah, but is there +1 now or -1?
No, because we've already changed and we're changing according to the US.
Sure.
So we've US. We got 168 hours.
Always.
Yes, right.
Right. Catch you then. Thank you everyone for dropping by, and we'll see you soon next time.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.